Echo 5, do you copy? Echo 5.
Echo 2, good morning. Nice of you to drop by.
Feeling alright, sir? Thought we lost you.
Right now, I feel like I can take on this whole podcast myself.
I know what you mean. Ready to send that transmission to Echo Base?
Yes, sir. R10, patch through.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. And today we will be covering Andor Episode 7, The Announcement. But before we get into it, go ahead and take a look at our link tree down in the description below. So you can be able to find our Instagram, our Discord, and a lot of the cool products and affiliations that we have for, I'll say, Black Series, lightsabers, you name it. And yeah, so before we actually get into the episode, we have some sad news this week, and just want to give just kind of some proper thoughts on it and kind of some respect for this brilliant legend of an actor, Carl Weathers, also known as Grief Karga for a lot of us Star Wars fans, but he did a lot more than that, and his legend went throughout the industry and a lot of cool projects. Like, he's a really cool guy, and so very sad news to hear his passing. And so while it's sad news, let us jump on to something a little bit more happy and exciting. Andor Episode 7. So last episode we saw a lot of cool things with the heist, and so now we're seeing the aftermath of it all. I know that episode's called Announcement, and so this is kind of a big episode for the Empire.
And the Rebellion.
Actually, and the Rebellion. And I actually had a lot of thoughts on this episode, because I know I was just going to jump on to Mon Mothma and Luthen's section first, just because I found it the most interesting. Because I know we've been talking about her the last couple episodes, and it's like, why are they including her family life? And I think this episode kind of really ties all of that together, because there's really nothing going on, and we get to see a meeting between her and Luthen, and it made me start questioning how much of a rebel Mon Mothma is at this point, and that maybe Luthen is her connection to the rebellion.
Yeah, so I got really thrown off by their interaction, because she had no idea what Luthen had planned with Cassian and the heist and everything. It was kind of like a, did you do that? No, really, tell me, did you do that? And I was kind of there, and I was like, you're meant to be sort of one of the higher ups in the rebellion. How do you not know what's going on?
So I'm thinking she's kind of at that point where she is a leader of the rebellion, but she's more of the diplomatic version of it. She's not really involved in the deeper stuff just yet. And so we're seeing how she's barely building up her network, because we're now seeing she can't trust her husband, she can't trust her daughter. So they kind of build that up to this point. And she can barely trust anybody else. And at this point, she's like looking at Luthen, she's like, I'm not sure I trust you either, because you're doing things that we don't believe in. And he's like, no, we got to do this. This needs to be done.
Yeah, to me it was quite it raised a lot of ethical questions. Mon Mothma's there, and she's like, kind of, was it ethical that we did it this way? Could it have been done another way? Should we have done it? And Luthen's like, we have to do these things for it to work.
Yeah, we need every credit that we can get, and we're not getting it from anywhere else. And we're barely starting, and we got the Empire on us. The Empire, the thing that we've seen like throughout the whole season so far is that the Empire has its grip on the galaxy at this point. No one is standing up. Nobody, everybody fears them. The Empire is so confident, and Luthen's like, yeah, we had to do this. We had to strike fear in the Empire because they have choked us slowly, and we began to start not noticing. And we got to strike some type of fear, show them that we're not forgetting what they're doing to us.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting way to see it and to put it. Because I mean, when we're looking at it, Mon Mothma thinks that Aldhani was really that step too far, but it is unavoidable. So you can't create a rebellion by being quiet.
No, absolutely, and it brings back like up to her character in Rogue One. Wasn't it her that ordered the death of Jin's father?
Yeah.
And so it's
Cass was going to do that, wasn't he? He was kind of basically on that mission. That was his mission in Rogue One, was to take out Jin's father.
Yeah, and so it's kind of interesting to kind of see. Now we're starting to get some character development that we didn't expect. So it becomes like another origin story. So we got an Andor story here, and then now we got Mon Mothma as kind of how she builds up to be the character that she is too. And so I found that really, really interesting on her and Luthen's interaction. And I thought it was funny that his assistant, before she walked in, she's like, "You need to wipe that smile off your face."
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the whole episode for me, even though it was very Cassian light, it actually weirdly worked because, like we said, it tied in a lot of the previous plot points that were sort of left us questioning what they were thinking. And it was just interesting to see how the characters interacted from this point on. Because you had Luthen's assistant meeting with Vel. And
that is true, yeah.
And that was a weird interaction as well, because it kind of made me think about what position does his assistant have in the rebellion. We know that Luthen hired Cassian, but why is his assistant going to speak to Val about potentially trying to kill Cass?
Oh, definitely. It's definitely an assassination mission. And is it Luthen's decision on that one, or is this assistant taking it upon herself? Because it looked like she was kind of like hiding. Because she had the hood on it, just started walking. Obviously, she don't want to be seen by the stormtroopers walking into this sketchy part of the Coruscant and being tied back to Luthen. But it's just interesting that they're looking to kill Cassian now. I thought that was a very interesting thing. And I can imagine Vel has a lot of, I want to say, mixed feelings on that, because he was with her on the heist. He was very invaluable. She sees his value. And when he could have killed her and taken all the money, he's like, "No, I'm just taking my share. You guys need this, take it. I'm just in it for the money. I'm not here to screw anybody over. Oh, by the way, this guy that was going to screw you over, I took care of him." And so I can imagine she's kind of has mixed feelings going, okay, he can be trusted. Like, he's a good guy. So this sucks that I'm going to have to go kill him now.
Yeah. Did Val, I can't remember, did Val actually know Cassian's real name at any point in the heist? Or was it
just nobody did. Everybody knew him as Clem.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure post heist she got the name.
Because I know that Luthen's assistant did mention, did say Cassian's name as Cassian.
Yeah, that could have been like a error on their part, but you can usually tie that in. It's like she's all dressed up, all nice. Like, there's a little bit of a time jump, so it's like, oh yeah, by the way, Cassian's the guy's name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be hard to find him because he likes his code names.
Yes, as we'll find out later on.
Absolutely. I did find it interesting. Like, she has like this dirty look in those 3 episodes, and here she's like all dolled up. It gave her a good look for this scene.
Yeah, I didn't.
She's
get
actually very
why-
stunning.
Yes, yeah, definitely stunning looking, but I didn't get why they did doll her up, because if it was kind of more the sketchy part of Coruscant, why get so dressed up?
Well, I want to say it's more like the sketchy, nice area, because it didn't look like it was a bad area. It didn't look like it was like the underground areas. This seemed like it was still pretty high up, and it was just on the I want to say the Senate level.
Yeah.
And so if she did go up there all, I want to say scrungy or smuggler looking, she probably would get a lot more looks than she did if she wasn't dolled up.
And that's true. That is true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, because I doubt Luthen's assistant would travel that far, or because she was all dressed up too, like makeup and everything. So I doubt she's gonna roll herself in some mud before she goes down to meet anybody. But and I don't think it was like supposed to be like one of those meetings where it's supposed to be in like the dark alley that nobody can see. It's more like, yeah, just assistant. I'm just walking over here. Oh, we're just 2 ladies talking. No big deal.
Yeah, and I mean, what's the best way to hide from the Empire? In
Plain sight.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Which is very interesting. Speaking of like being in plain sight, like we continue into Mon Mothma's party.
Yes. Yeah.
And so she's already noticed that her driver is in there watching her, because I found that an odd scene when they were talking between her and Luthen, and then it takes a cut back to the driver and he's just kind of staring in. I was like, okay, yeah, they cut back to that guy on purpose. He's got something going on. And then she confirms it later here when she's talking to her banker friend.
Yeah.
And so
the Empire knows that she's part of something, but not that. It was like the Empire's not quite sure what she's part of. They can't confirm that it is the rebellion.
yeah, because they're watching all her charity funds. And so, speaking of hiding in plain sight, she's like, hey, we were friends in childhood. So can I still call upon your friendship? I've got some things since you do banking over on Chandrilla. So I trust you. So let's have a little chat, because I need to access my funds without the Empire being suspicious about it. And so I think that's kind of why they brought in like the husband and them sitting in the car, and he's asking about the charity and wondering why he's not involved in it. Because it's building up for her going, oh yeah, I'm doing this charity to raise money. I can't tell you what it's for because it's better that you don't know, but I need your help to do it.
Yeah, and I mean in the party, but while she is talking to her banker friend, we start to see a darker side of Mon Mothma as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you picked up on that, but when the banker friend was saying, that he doesn't like the Empire, and that there's rumors and stuff, and then she's like, yeah, just smart, keep smiling,
Mm-hmm.
pretend like we're just 2 old friends catching up, and I'm going to tell you some bits, but I'm not going to tell you everything.
Yeah, exactly. And so it became more of like a more serious tone. It's like, I just talked to Luthen. He's got me thinking. We do need to raise funds. The way that I kind of took it, like she's trying to find a way to raise funds, and Luthen was doing these heists, so he's able to do it. So they're able to have the funds. She doesn't like the way that he's doing it, so she's trying to do it her way, and I think it's going to backfire on her.
Yeah.
That's just my gut feeling on it, because her husband comes up and she's like, okay, let's just pretend like we were talking, because even though he's my husband, I don't trust him. So let's just sit here and smile, pretend, and then he comes up and he's like, oh, can I take her away? And then she kind of gives a lecture. We're not done talking. So think about it.
Yeah. It's like to be continued, but I want this to happen one way or another. And then you just kind of see the banker friend sitting back down, and to me it kind of the way that it was shot was kind of like him questioning reality at this point. The person that he knew as a child is now part of this big thing that he wouldn't have ever considered her to be part of, and he's now
And he doesn't even know.
Yeah, he's like it. To me, it kind of came across as, wait, was she hinting at she's part of the rebellion, or what's going on? Why the Empire stopping her from accessing her own money?
Yeah, because they asked her, and she's like, and then she keeps talking. He's like, you never answer my question. Yeah, I'm not going to. And there's a reason for that. The less you know, the better. Because I'm going to make you chief executive of my accounts for this charity. So if they come after you, then she's basically trying to protect him at this point. So she's playing the political game here.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm getting you involved, but not enough to get you in too much trouble.
I mean, it's nice that she's, looking out for her friend, but at the same time, it is definitely a darker side of her, keeping, just dangling the that proverbial carrot, that little nugget of information that's not quite enough for the full thing, but it's enough to get a taste.
And enough to get him thinking.
Yeah.
Because he did seem very pensive after she left. Because, like you said, he would just kind of sat back down and just kind of there. It's like, okay. So he seemed not interested, but intrigued.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what I got from him.
Yeah, no, there was definitely the intrigued sort of way it was portrayed, but it'll be interesting to see, for those that haven't seen the rest of Andor season 1, how it plays out, because that was a very interesting way, even with Mon Mothma's daughter going up to her saying, oh yeah, father says I need to ask for your permission to be excused. And it was kind of like, is that true? Or was, there's so many different things going on in that party. So why does the daughter need to get permission to be excused? And really, where would she be going? Because was the party at their house? I can't remember if it was said specifically, but
but now that you mention it, I think it probably was at their house, and because it had a lot of similar designs and everything.
Yeah, that's what I thought, or where I thought it was. But it's kind of like, where would she be going, and what would her part be? I mean, we said it last week, or in the last episode, or the one before, that we never see the family again, really. So what happens to them? And the daughter, yeah, she's a teenager, or
Yeah, I'd say like late teens.
like it would be interesting to see where she went, and obviously you could kind of see that look of concern on Mon Mothma's face when her daughter does ask to be excused, but she can't question it because there's too many people around.
Yeah, and I mean, how many kids really enjoy their parents' parties anyway, especially a political party like this? I know I probably would have been like, oh, I'm so bored. It's like,
Yep.
Dad, can I leave? Go
I
ask
just
your mom.
want
She's a senator. Mom, is it cool if I dip out? Yeah, sure. And I'm sure the kid just went out to like the balcony and just kind of removed herself from the party. Because if it wasn't at their house, there's only so far she can go unless they called a Coruscant Uber to take her home.
I'm trying to merge Coruscant and it's like Karuba.
Karuba. Sounds like that medical droid at the end of Revenge of the Sith. It says something very
Yeah.
similar. Not the Karuba, but it's like Uba or something. It's pretty funny.
Yes.
That's what it reminded me. Oh, Star Wars and the language. Gotta love it.
I know. But I mean, so obviously now we're seeing a different side of Mon Mothma. Maybe her chat with Luthen kind of got her a bit shook up about how she's approached things.
Mm-hmm.
And she's definitely more on edge because of Aldani, and if it does somehow link back to her, then everything kind of stops before it's properly started.
Yeah, I mean they got to do something, and so she can't rely on Luthen this entire time, especially if she does like. We're getting the Saw Gerrera feel from him. I don't know if that's what you're getting from him, but I'm kind of getting those vibes from him.
See, I'm not getting that vibe at all. I'm not sure what vibe I am getting though, because with Saw Gerrera, it was
he was extreme.
Yeah, but he was extreme, but on the front line, and that's how he's kind of always been. Whereas Luthen is kind of manipulative. He's behind the scenes. He's pulling strings, but he's not there. He's not present at every engagement.
Well, I mean, the vibe that I meant like getting from Saw Gerrera is more like the intensity. It's like we can't just sit back and let politics play its game. And even with the rebellion, Saw Gerrera is like, you guys aren't doing enough, so I'm going to do more. And I kind of get that vibe from Luthen. Like he may not be on the front lines, but he's like, we have to do something. We can't just sit back and do these charity events and hope we can raise money for it and to supply the rebellion. It's like, nah, it's kind of like the whole Robin thing, steal from the rich.
Yep. Yeah.
And so,
no, that actually does make sense. I mean, I guess I just always saw Gerrera as more of an extremist.
Oh, very, very much so.
Whereas
Luthen's a very mild version of it.
Yeah. So I never really put the two in the same category.
I'm pretty sure Luthen has a lot more boundaries than Saw Gerrera, but he's willing to do things that are unorthodox to be able to keep things moving. Because he sees it as, okay, we don't get the funding, we don't get the credits. How are we going to fund everything? It's like, yes, we can raise a rebellion, and we can get people hating the Empire, but we still got to supply them. We still need ships. We need food. We need water. We can't keep a rebellion alive just on the merit of we hate the Empire.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. That's a good comparison of the two characters, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. That's what I like about Andor so far is like the characters are so compelling. Like they really do some great character development on them. Even like in previous episodes, we're like, we're questioning the choices that they did with these characters. And then 3 episodes later, it's like, oh, okay. Now it's starting to make sense. Maybe she wasn't a full-on rebel. Maybe this is her birth into becoming more of the leader that we know in later in the saga.
Yes, yeah. Everything has a purpose.
And they're doing a really good job at like pushing that. And that's why like sometimes when people are like, oh yeah, it's a filler episode, I'm like, it's a filler episode right now, but wait a few episodes and then even another season, because that's what they do with Mando. I'm pretty sure I brought this up. Season 1, things that happened in season 1 had effects on season 2, and I think even season 3. So
Yes. Yeah.
it's very interesting to see how much I want to say they learned from the sequels, where the sequels had no long-term plan. And so now it seems like they're getting a little bit more conscious of that. And so it seems like it's like, okay, we got these characters, what direction do we want them? And it's really cool to kind of see how they're doing a lot of this through these characters. Even with Cyril, like Cyril, they started the whole episode with Cyril, and his character's kind of stagnant right now. He's kind of in between from his where he started to where he is headed. Because what he's getting a desk job, but first they show him in his room, which I don't know if you noticed. There was a bunch of clone trooper figures on his desk. I thought those were cool.
That's one of the notes that I had that I wanted to bring up at some point. Was he has his little action figure models on display.
Cyril's a nerd. We respect him.
Yeah. My vision of Cyril has completely changed just because of that. You know, he's a good guy now.
I mean,
I like him.
Let's be real. He's always been a good guy. Like, two people get murdered from his point of view, and he's doing his best to try and rectify and bring this guy in for justice. Because when he's sitting down, like before we get into that part, his mom was like is berating him. I felt so bad for him because his mom was like, "It's like, oh, you're gonna go to the interview dressed like that. It's like your color. It reeks of desperate. It's like, please give me a job."
Yeah, and I mean, his reply was, "Oh, I had it tailored." You know, that's great, but at the same time, like, he was only trying to do his job, and he suffered the consequences for that because he kind of did it the wrong way. And now he's
according to his mom.
Yeah, and now he's just trying to move on and show some sort of dignity, and having a suit tailored to how you want it to look. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, but again, you know, according to his mum, it's very much you know, you have to look one way to fit in.
And it kind of gives us like a perspective on Cyril's mentality, I think, as well, because his mom seems very critical. Every time we see her, she's always criticizing him in some way. And it seems like their family is a little bit higher up, not like the middle class. Like, she's dressed very nice, she's speaking very well, and she's like, "Oh yeah, your uncle is in a high position, so he can hook you up with this job over here, and so you gotta respect him, and you gotta look a certain way." And you can kind of see why he's so like trying to do everything perfect to the point that he fails, is because his mom probably criticizes him all the time. He's like, "Oh, I can't do anything right." And he even brings that to the interview guy, because the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell you about this bureau. You'll be doing this, you'll be doing that, blah blah." But we do see this mark on your record, and he finally gets a chance to kind of like defend himself on the whole thing, which I thought was really cool, because we get to see his perspective.
Yeah, and I think that was a good inclusion to see his mentality on it, because, you know, but when he was having his ass handed to him, it was very much a, you don't speak, I'm speaking, we're done, get out the door. And he's just had to sit and take abuse from, you know, from that fact, and from his own mother as well.
Yeah.
And now it's his turn, and he's taking that opportunity with both hands.
Yeah, because the guy's like, so we saw you got fired from your last job. What about that? Well, let's just say 2 people got murdered. I was chasing the guy that murdered him. Things happened in between, and I just want to get a chance to be able to bring this guy to justice. And the guy was like, okay, well, let's tweak this a little bit so we can get this off your record so you can start building on this. And instead of this desk job, we're going to send you over to the fuel purity section, offering like another position. And I feel that's going to build him to another spot later on. So
yeah,
this isn't the end.
Yeah, and again, it's kind of one of those, like with the Mon Mothma inclusion in this episode, it's actually leading somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see where it's leading as well now. It's not just a random inclusion to fill out the scene or to fill out the episode. It's a purpose now,
which is really cool because I'm enjoying his story, even though him chilling at home and some of it interactions with mom, I'm gonna say is a little boring, but you can see his character just like sitting there brewing, and he's just waiting to get his opportunity. And here, I think he's going to get it because the Empire is getting very more, I want to say, controlling now because of this whole Aldani thing.
Yes, yeah, and we do see that in this episode.
Which I want to say is something that's pretty funny with what's his face, the Major Partagas, when he's talking about Ord Mantell. He at the beginning of it he pronounces it Ord Mantell, which is the Empire Strikes Back version. But then at the end of the episode, it goes Ord Mantell, which is a more familiar for a lot of more updated stuff, I think.
I never noticed that. I'm gonna have to go back and just rewatch that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if they did that on purpose or it was just his accent or something, but I know a few people pointed that out, and so I wanted to kind of like throw it in.
No, I never noticed it. I am going to go and watch it again, and just that whole section, and see if I can actually pick it up now that it's been highlighted to me.
Yeah. And then what was it? I know when Vel was meeting and Luthen's assistant was walking past, they do a reference to the movie THX 11. Because she walks by a couple of stormtroopers and they sounded familiar. I forget the numbers on it, but I remember them calling out LUH and then a number, which was a reference to the movie THX, one of Lucasfilm property.
It was that his first proper movie?
I want to say yes,
because I know the most famous non-Star Wars early movie he did was American Graffiti, which had Harrison Ford in it, hence the Han Solo inclusion there. But I think THX was the first, and that's why it's referenced quite a lot.
Yeah, because it came out in 1971. So yeah, that was his first film, and it was now that I looked it up, it's the stormtrooper says LUH 3417, which is a character from THX.
I love all these hidden, well, not so hidden Easter eggs, but
they're not,
it
and
adds the extra layer, doesn't it?
It does, and I like to bring them up in the podcast for people that aren't too familiar. So I like to throw it in there and say, hey, if you guys didn't catch this, or if you guys aren't familiar with it, it's cool that they're bringing like real life things and implementing it in kind of as an Easter egg for people that are fans of those projects. Go, hey, I recognize that. Makes it a lot of fun.
It does, and that's what I like about Star Wars as a whole, just digressing massively on that one, but it has the Easter eggs and everything that, you know,
with like Luthen's shop, when this episode, seeing his shop when they're talking, we can see a Jeddah Temple guard mask, and then we see the Gungan's personal energy shield from episode 1, and then a Keldorian rebreather, the one that Plo Koon wears.
Yep.
So they throw all these little things to kind of like make things fun.
It's like, you know, the sort of casual Star Wars fan would potentially recognize it, but then you've got like the hardcore ones that are like, oh my god, no way, that's so cool, I know exactly what that is and where it's from.
Just like with was it Wolf Yularen? This is his second live action appearance in that Imperial meeting that we kind of digress from.
Yeah. Yeah.
But good way to bring it back in.
Yes.
With Colonel Yularen.
Yeah. And I mean the ISB itself, you know, now dictating what the Empire has changed the rules to.
Always changing rules.
Yeah. And it's like, you know,
pray don't alter it any further.
I was half expecting that line to be said.
That would have been funny.
Yeah, you know, like a big Easter egg like that, you know. But no, you could kind of see from the initial walking around, you know, discussing how or saying how the Empire's now changed the rules, and the personal meeting with Emperor Palpatine to say that the ISB is now doing things this way. It was kind of like, okay, so the Empire's now stepping up their game because the Rebellion stepped up theirs.
Which is the funny part, because the only person that doesn't see it as robbery is Deidre.
Yeah.
And because everybody else is like, oh yeah, this is robbery. Palpatine, he's told us that this is how we're going to run things now. So anybody that indirectly hits the Empire is going to be hit with these repercussions. So this kind of gives like a whole ripple effect, and we'll see that later. But everybody's seeing it as a robbery, and Deidre's like, it's really not. And they even mentioned, she's like, oh yeah, the Emperor, he's going to be calling an emergency Senate meeting and to discuss all of this and kind of put in a lot more force. Which I know we talked in the last episode that the Senate was completely empty, and I'm sure when Palpatine comes in before they sit there and dissolve the Senate completely, filled up because everybody's going to be forced to be there.
Yeah.
But any indirect attacks are going to be kind of as a class 1, so they stepped it up, and it's like, yep, I don't care what they do. It's like, if it's a robbery, it's a robbery, but they're going to be treated as such.
Yeah, and it kind of puts the fear back into the Empire, because, you know,
like Luthen was saying.
Yeah, and that's, again, you know, it was great to see how everything now ties in to the other plot lines, you know, with like you just said, you know, with Luthen saying about, you know, about the Empire and the whole fear factor, to then the Empire having lost money on Aldhani, they're stepping it up. And I mean, you know, the Empire is galaxy wide. Why care about one little section? And then as we go through, we kind of find out that Deidre is focusing on one thing, and it kind of comes all to light then, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you may say like, oh yeah, it's a little section, but you got like the Empire, even the Emperor, like their pride. It's like, yeah, this Aldhani thing, it's just a little spaceport. We can recover from that easy, but the fact that somebody was bold enough to sit there and attack it, that needs to be addressed, because we need to show people that they can't just attack us like that and get away with it. And so we can't find people involved, so everybody's going to be held accountable for it. And so it kind of puts a whole stamp on everybody. It's like, yeah, okay, well, we rise up, we do this, everybody's going to be hit with it, and it kind of sucks. And so it shows kind of how the Empire kind of thinks and how they work. And not only is the Empire gaining fear from those attacks, so they retaliate, now they're trying to strike in deeper fear into the galaxy to follow them.
Yeah. It's an interesting plot point about, and you know, I'm actually glad that we're seeing it more in this episode about how the Empire works, because obviously, you know, we've seen stormtroopers do their thing. You know, they follow orders, and the Empire calls the Emperor calls the shots, but we never see really how, like, the next level down goes, and how that works. So it's great to see how the ISB is now working, and you know, with the whole Deidre thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, her being called out for not following protocol.
Yeah, because before their second meeting, she's sitting there trying to get more intel, and she's like, let's keep the secret. And so it brings it into this thing where she gets called out. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it was kind of like a, you know, it was one of those scenes where it was like, it could go either way, because obviously we now know what the Empire is like.
Mm-hmm.
But for it to be done in the way that it was, you know, that you could see the look of shock on basically everyone's faces.
Mm-hmm.
And but Deidre's there, and she's like, even she was shocked when it was kind of like, actually, no, you're being somewhat praised for thinking, you know, outside of the box.
Yeah, because he calls her out, and she's like, well, sounds like he's more interested in my conduct than the advancing of our imperial security. And he's like, well, you shouldn't be doing that, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I'm going to make this a big issue. And she's like, well, okay, well, we've established these boundaries, and you guys are calling it robbery, but these rebels are striking everywhere. They don't respect our boundaries. And so them breaching is proof of rebel activity, and you guys are just ignoring it completely. And so he's like, okay, well, all right, we're not going to discuss this any further. You seem so interested in Ferrix. It's now yours. And Bezel, or I can't remember the other guy's name, or Blevin, it's like, all right, well, you're done over there. I'm going to reassign you.
Yeah, and then, you know, the interesting bit after that was when Deidre was walking out, and I've forgotten his name.
Party guys.
Yes. When they were walking out, and it was just like, he just says to her while walking, so just watch your back.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, so okay, so what else is going to happen then?
Dude, I know. Like, Blevin is not liking her, right? That he just lost his sector, even though he was trying to get her disciplined. And it's like, basically, it's like, oh yeah, the Empire, yeah, we don't like Tattletale, so you should have dealt with it on your own, or talked to her or whatever. But since you're calling it out, she's got some good points. Yeah, you're reassigned, because Party Guys does go out there. He's like, good job. He's like, he's starting to see it from her point, so she's starting to get some traction in the ISB from the higher ups. And so good for her.
Yeah. And, you know, we've said it before, but she's kind of the only one initially that could see what was going on and was putting two and two together. And now more and more people are seeing that. And, you know, it's a good evolution of the character where she was persistent with it, and it's finally starting to properly pay off.
Yeah. Because now she's in control of Ferrix. And as we know, things are starting to boil down there. So imagine if she got there sooner, things probably would have been different.
Yeah.
Because now we got Cassian headed back to Ferrix. Very dumb move on his part, but I see why he's going there. He's trying to get his mom with him.
Yeah, I mean, he always said that he would go back anyway. So he's just fulfilling his next obligation. You know, he's done the job that he was paid to do. He's now going back to finish everything else that he had started. And, you know, I mean, was it the right move? Maybe not, but, you know, one thing I would like to...
No, go.
I was going to say, one thing I did like about the flashbacks from Cassian was the Phase 2 clone trooper armor.
I noted that down too.
Yeah. I was like, that was a subtle inclusion, because it, you know, wasn't necessarily needed, but we know roughly at the time they would have been using Phase 2 armor still. So to see that,
Bad Batch era.
Yeah, all tying in.
And we finally get closure on his dad. Oh my gosh, what a mix-up.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's just funny how history repeats on this. Because some random guy just throws a rock as a stormtrooper, or I would call them stormtroopers at this point, even though they're not wearing the armor and they're not actual stormtroopers, but they're in that class I put at this point.
Yeah.
And they're walking down and people are not liking it. So throws a rock and he's like, his dad is like, well, let me go talk to this guy because that was a bad move. And they turn around right when he's walking in the middle and he's right in the open. So he's the person to blame, obviously. And the Empire is like, no questions.
Yeah, shoot on sight. You know, he's there trying to de-escalate the situation from the generic public, and he pays the consequences.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to help you guys, and you guys kill me for it? Rude. But, you know, whatever. And it kind of builds that hate that Cassian has for the Empire because he actually witnessed his stepdad just shot right in front of him for no reason. No reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And personally, I felt bad for Clown. Like, wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, all because he was trying to do the right thing by, you know, stopping people from potentially getting shot.
Yeah, honestly. And he's like, you messed up and I took the fall for it. And maybe that's kind of why Cassian doesn't like get involved with things because of Clem. Because up until this point, he's like, I don't want to join the rebellion. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And he, even during the heist, he kept saying, he's like, the money's worth getting involved on this incident. And maybe it's because he saw Clem trying to help, trying to save people, and it got him killed. And Cassian's like, nope, I'm just looking up for myself and my stepmom. Everybody else, I'm not getting involved.
Yeah, that's a fascinating way to see it. And you know, final thought from me on that front is just it's nice to have that sort of closure on the character. because obviously we could tell that something had happened to Clem, but wasn't fully there. But now we know, and we can see why Cassian is kind of like how he is. And to me, it definitely comes across as well as Cassian also wants to do the right thing because that's how he was raised.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, what is the right thing now when you get punished for doing anything?
Yeah, and it's very interesting to see like the two. So we're getting like two different spots. So we get his view of Clem dying, and we have my thoughts on that. But now we have my other thoughts on what comes next, because he's trying to get his mom to leave, and all his actions by him choosing to get involved in this heist actually inspires her to get involved. She's like, nope, I'm not leaving. She's like, those guys were heroes going into a garrison and going against the Empire and succeeding. She's like, yeah, that needs to be done here. So I'm staying here. I'm gonna help. And so she sees Cassian as a hero, even though I don't think he explicitly says that he was involved in that. But now we got him seeing from his stepmom's perspective, something needs to be done. I need to get involved. And so, although he's not ready for it at that moment, I'm sure that pushes his character in the direction he's going.
Yeah.
Whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, it definitely came across as her words were inspiration, and even though he might not like it and might not think about it at the time, you can definitely tell that in his mind something is, that the cogs are turning, and he's now thinking, is she right?
Mm-hmm. And if she was only honest with him from the start, they would not be in this situation, I think. Because we finally get some closure on his sister, too.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, stop searching for her. It's a fantasy. There were no survivors there. She's dead. Sorry we lied to you.
But then, see, my question on that is she just saying that to kind of get Cassian away from Ferrex? Because obviously, people would, the Empire are still out to, they're looking for him. Was she just lying to try and protect him?
I did think about that too, because she didn't, when she said it, she didn't seem too convinced. It was just more of kind of rhetoric, just like exactly what you said. So I had those exact same thoughts. It's very curious.
Because I mean, the one issue that I had with it was, unless she went back to the planet that we've, back to Cass's homeworld that we haven't seen on screen yet, to try and find more survivors. As far as we know, that they kind of just left with Cassian.
Yeah, because he just happened to be on the ship, and they're like, "Well, we got the Republic coming after us right now. We got to leave. Let's take the kid with us."
Yeah, so I'm not 100% convinced, but
like I said, it might be them redoing Kip Duron's story, where Kip Duron, he's in the mines, and he believes the Empire killed his brother, so he has this vendetta against the Empire, and then later on he gets a sun crusher and blows up a galaxy, finds out his brother's still alive, and he's actually the one that kills him. And so it's kind of giving me like those kind of vibes. It's like, okay, I'm searching for my sister. I hate the Empire. She's missing. Oh, by the way, your sister's dead. Oh, okay, so now he believes his sister's dead, but she could still be alive, maybe in Empire custody, and he has no idea. So I'm not going to say that it's going to go around the way where he kills his sister or anything like that, but I feel like if she's still alive, there's going to be a moment where he's going to have to make a choice, or something. It's going to be a pivotal moment if she
Yeah,
still is alive.
yeah. And I'm kind of hoping that we do find out more, because just leaving it as a line of, oh yeah, your sister's dead. That's
Just matter of fact.
yeah, yeah. So okay, but then at the same time, we already know that Cassian is planning on leaving Ferrex. So could it have just been that final push to say, like, I love you, but don't have attachments to me because you're never going to go, but you need to go. I'm old. I'm gonna die soon. You know, you're young. You can do whatever. You know, you can save the galaxy.
It's kind of more of that thing. It's like, I'm just going to slow you down type speech too.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got people chasing you, so I'm just going to slow you down. They're not looking for me here. I'll be safe here. But there's a rebellion kind of stirring here, so I might do that. And it's kind of interesting. So, because he even decides to see Bix before he leaves.
Yeah.
And another little Easter egg that I saw someone comment, there's a old tune called Shave and a Haircut, which is a musical riff that I guess originated in the 19th century America. And so I just want to point it out because, like, they're saying, like, this is the first time that we actually hear music from, like, real life, not just made up stuff, actually implemented into Star Wars. So it's a piece of popular music first introduced into the Star Wars universe.
Okay. I didn't know that. So that's a fun fact for me as well.
Yeah. And it's on her wall when he's knocking. I think it's like a poster. And so I thought that was interesting. So like throwing in those little Easter eggs. But it's interesting, like, going to see her, like, to touch upon a point that we made with the Empire, how the Empire is like, okay, you guys went against the Empire, so this is gonna affect everybody. And so Bix is talking to Cassian, and he mentions, or she mentions, she's like, oh yeah, she's like, it's not good for you to be back here. Everybody blames you for what happened, and we're still suffering from it.
Yeah. I mean, I found the whole interaction was very. It's hard to describe how it felt, because Cassian was there to basically, you know, see how she's doing, pay her back, and potentially try and get her to leave with him.
Mm-hmm.
And but you know, the inclusion of mentioning the boyfriend.
Yeah, sore subject.
Yeah.
And I'm curious of what happened to her face, because she walks out and he's like, what happened to you? She's like, oh, I ran into a wall like I do. It's like, no. Maybe
Yeah,
Imperial involvement.
Yeah, because that wasn't from that wound wasn't there when she was from earlier in the season, when her boyfriend did try and throw Cassian under the bus.
Yeah, because if we're going to be realistic, it's been at tops a week since he's been there.
Yeah.
Because the heist took 3 days. He left the day before he got there, so that's 4 days. And I'm not exactly sure how much more time he spent, but I'm assuming it's a whole week time frame. So you're right.
I'd say potentially sort of a 2-week time span, because we don't know how long it's taken
to travel.
Yeah.
So for a wound like that, it looked very fresh. It didn't look like something that happened 1 or 2 weeks prior.
Yeah. Yeah. And unless she did just walk into a pole, but I
Doubt
mean,
it.
you know, people are clumsy, but when
that
it's
clumsy.
like that, yeah, because she was visibly shook up as well. It wasn't just you know, it wasn't just one of those things where it's like, you shouldn't be here, go away. It was the eyes were shifting. She was looking around. She was like, the Empire's here, and all of that stuff. So I definitely think there was an altercation that we haven't
That's why everybody
seen.
blames him.
Yeah.
And I wonder if she blames him at any point for that either, because she seems very distant from him than what we've seen her interact with him in the previous.
I mean, maybe. And I mean, don't forget, he is kind of the reason why her boyfriend died.
Mm-hmm.
In a loose sort of sense, because Cassian didn't hand himself in, but at the same time, it was because of Cassian that events had happened, which culminated in the death of her boyfriend.
Yeah. Well,
So
he thought we were back together, which we got
Yeah.
some confirmation that they did have a relationship before. So I know we speculated on that before.
Yeah, it was good to have that final confirmation of, they used to be an item.
Mm-hmm.
But I just found the interaction to be a bit. It was definitely shifty, and something else was going on. But again, we didn't find out what. But it's raised these questions. It's not just a random inclusion in the episode. It's we have to find out what happened.
Yeah, because he's even trying to get more information about Luthen, because he's like, who's this guy? Why does he know so much about him? She's like, I don't know. He's like, you're lying. She's like, nope, really. Like, I don't know anything about the guy. So, sorry, bro. But it's sad. I would have loved to see Bixley go with Cassian. She would have been a lot. I don't know if she'd be safer, actually, because once he leaves, it does like a little time skip. I feel like.
Yeah.
Because he's on another planet called what? Niomis? I think it's called.
Yeah, it's something
I wrote it
like
down.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, Niomis. Niomis. Probably pronounce it. I don't know how they want to pronounce, but that's what I'm going with. But it seems like he's finally living his dream.
Yeah, he wakes up, or well, I say he wakes up. There's a somewhat naked girl in his bed,
Mm-hmm.
and he's clearly moved on. He's got yet another alias.
Was it Keith Kurgo or
Keith? Who calls him
Keith Kurgo?
Yeah, Keith. It's like
that's why I said earlier in the episode he likes his aliases.
Yeah. Yeah, and but he's still holding on to the past. He's got his little box of, trinkets and memories and stuff, or whatever.
And all his credits.
Yeah.
They don't trust nobody. It's kind of interesting place where he had it hidden.
Yeah. It's not a normal place, and on the other side of that is, why would you hide it? Unless you don't trust anybody anymore, which is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
But his so he's there kind of shower head running, and he's like, oh, I'm just washing up, and it's like, oh yeah, can you go to the shop to buy something, and
some drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, and
that's basically what it is, because it's called piezo. I had to look it up because I was curious what it was, and it's a legal stimulant.
Okay.
And then
he's also
Revspug. Revnog is what the other thing that she wanted, and it's some type of alcohol. So that's his lifestyle right now.
Yep. Yeah, because we see him take a swig from a nearly empty bottle. You can kind of see maybe he's on that planet with all the sort of drugs and alcohol going on to escape his own reality. And I mean, to me, I might be looking way too much into this, but it did seem that.
Oh, that's the
kind of
fun
way.
part.
Sorry, what was that?
I said that's the fun part.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but to me, it just came across as like he's now there to forget the whole Ferrix thing. His mother basically, saying that that's it, go, leave me here. So I'm kind of, the impression that I got was he didn't want to be there specifically, but it had the stuff that he needed to try and move on.
Because his goal was, all right, bring his mom and be one, because when he's there, he's like, it's just us three. So I'm not exactly sure if Bix was even part of his plan. And so he's on this planet by himself with none of the people that he intended to bring with him. So it's like, all right, what do I do? This is it. So
I guess
think
this
you're
is
right.
my life now.
Yeah. So let's go to the store. And speaking of being wrong place, wrong time, kind of following Clem's example without being shot. And man, I do not like this short trooper. The guy knows he's wrong, but he's just abusing his power so much at this point.
Yeah.
And that's what the Empire does. And Andor gets captured again. Well, I'm not going to say again, but he's in his next character arc.
If it was for the fact that he had robbed a planet, I would get it, I'd understand it, but he was just trying to go to the shop.
Yeah, like they have no idea who he is.
Yeah, he wasn't doing anything wrong, just like you say, wrong place, wrong time.
Then
and
you were running. I wasn't running.
Yeah.
Why are you sweaty? I'm not sweaty.
It's hot outside, like
Yeah, poor Andor. He just can't catch a break.
No, and it does show more, with that short trooper, the whole shoot first, ask questions later mentality, which has kind of been installed in, throughout the Empire.
And their lack of understanding and reasoning, and Cassian's like, why are you detaining me? It's like, or what's going on here? I'm the one asking the questions here, not you. It's like, okay, well, you're asking the wrong questions, man.
Yeah.
It's like you're just assuming.
Yeah, and I mean one good thing from this scene was we got to see another is it a
K2?
security? Yeah.
K2 unit, yeah. I think you're more spot on with the letters. K2SO. It is K2 unit. K2SO is, and so now it's introducing the character. I don't know if it's the same one, but it's building up to it.
Yeah, so it was, for me, it was good to see that inclusion, because obviously Rogue One, we know that Andor, I wouldn't say has one, but obviously with K2SO,
The Friends one, or reprograms one.
Yeah, so it was good to see a full-on Empire programmed one in something other than Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so then,
and now that I'm seeing it, you were right. It is a KX series droid. I think K2SO is just his own reprogrammed name. But I think the proper term is KX series security droid.
well, yeah. So then there's a little bit of a time skip. I say time skip. We don't know the specifics of it, but Cassian
He's getting
is
charged.
yeah, and it's like he kind of forgets his alias, because they were shouting out for Keith, and it was like he was just sat there, and then was like, oh wait, that's meant to be me, and he's there, and he's like, I didn't do anything, but because
we kind of get. Yeah, I was gonna say we kind of get an idea of what exactly was going on that he was being accused of doing. Which, I mean, the charges I think are proper for him, but not in that instance.
Yeah. And it's like, so he's trying to still protest his innocence and get sentenced to not 6 months, which is what it used to be, but a lot longer.
Yeah, 6 years, and you
Yeah.
see Andor going, oh, gotta be kidding me, man. He's like, I am not down with this. So we get spend the next 3 episodes in prison. Yay!
Yeah, and I mean that in itself, again, the whole like prison episodes, we'll talk about those, but the way that this one was ended with the prison sentence,
Yeah,
it ties back to the beginning of the episode where the Empire's now like, no, this is how it is. It's all class 1, no matter what, even if you're just basically around the area.
Yeah, no, I thought it was funny, especially the employee that was there. She's like, well, you're protesting, so if you don't like it, take it up with the Emperor.
Yeah.
Good luck with that one, man.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I may have been the one to rob Aldani, but I didn't actually do anything wrong this time.
Where can I schedule that meeting? Where's his calendar? Where's his assistant? Do that before the arraignment. But very, very fun stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, overall, for me, the episode, even though, like I say, it was very Cassian light, everything tied in properly now. It's all coming into play, and it was again another really well done episode.
Yeah, the attention to detail, the inclusion of certain characters and certain aspects is really building it up. So I'd definitely say, even though we didn't get too much Cassian in this one, we did get to see kind of the buildup of the Empire, which seems like they might have been a little relaxed, which is kind of funny to say for the Empire. But now we're getting to see them choking the galaxy a little bit more, which is going to start pushing the rebellion out, because it's already sparking in his mom. And apparently it's happening here on Niamis. I can't say the word. Anyways, because they had an anti-imperial rally here and damaging imperial property. So it's like, okay, Aldani definitely sparked something.
Yeah.
And by the Empire trying to retaliate, it's making it worse. So really cool episode. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it definitely changes the pace of how the next run of episodes go as well.
And one more Easter egg. Cyril is pouring blue milk with his breakfast.
Yep.
Just had to throw that in there because I thought that was funny. Glad it wasn't the green milk.
Yeah.
It's all about the blue milk.
It's blue milk all the way.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to us yet again another week. We will be back next week with Andor episode 8. We're going to be starting with Cassian's journey through prison and how much he dislikes it. So stay tuned next week, and we'll get into that. And yeah, so always, guys, check down below or in the description. We have our Instagram where we post a lot of updates. Join our Discord where you can join a bunch of other fans and be able to talk about everything that you love about Star Wars and other things. Also, be sure to click down below to check out our affiliate with entertainmentearth.com. We have tons of cool stuff going from lightsabers, to pretty much anything collectible Star Wars that you guys would be interested in. And if you're interested in shirts, we've designed some cool ones. So check out our Teespring and enjoy some of the cool designs that we've come up with. And that will be it for this week. And may the Force
be with you
always.